What's up, you guys? We are back with another episode on the Man Up Club podcast the Man Up Club presents podcast. I always do this.
It's all good.
I get it on the third time though. I know. What's up, you guys? We are back with another. Sorry. See, I'm getting out all the mess ups for you.
Hey, we'll mess up together.
What's up, you guys? We are back on the Man Up Club Presents podcast. I'm your host, Celena, Lena, aka Sis from Sis and Lone Bro, but I'm also the youth and program director of the not the podcast. I'm almost there.
You're good. You're doing good.
What's up, you guys? This is your girl. No, this is really weird.
Why?
But we're about to work it.
Okay.
What's up, you guys? We are back with another episode of the Man Up Club podcast presents. Okay, I'm your girl, Celena, Lena, aka Sis from Sis and Lone Bro, and we are back with another episode. I have a wonderful guest for you guys here today. We have Donnell Bratton. Say hello to the people.
What up? What up? What up?
How are you feeling today?
I feel great.
Good.
The sun is out. It's beautiful.
I know. That's what our last guy said. He was just like, the sun is out. When the sun comes out in Minnesota, it's just like a miracle just happened. And it puts people in a much better mood than they were.
Absolutely. The sun. We need the sun.
That's right. That's right. So, we're gonna dive into some deep conversation here with this wonderful man in the community. He has known Mr. Dean for quite a long time, from what I know. Can you tell the people what the relationship is between you and Mr. Dean?
Wow. Some know him as Mr. Dean. I also know him as XROSS.
Okay.
And so, and he is definitely a brilliant man. I mean, we've met probably about close to 20 years ago. And we had the opportunity of doing ministry together. And he came and did a conference at our ministry, which was powerful. I mean, when I can say it was powerful, impactful, it was for our youth. And it was so, can I use the word dope here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Come on now.
I just want to make sure, it was super dope, and I use that word a lot. My youth tease me about that. That's like my favorite word, but did that. And then we just kind of, in passing, he came out with an album. We came and supported him. Then there's a couple things that he's been doing on the north side of Minneapolis. I mean, he's did wonderful things with mentoring young people.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just been seeing him, watching him from a distance. We call every blue moon, but it's like when we do talk, it's like we never missed a beat. Like, what can I do? Hey, can I help? Can you do this? And it's always a yes when he calls. When I see his number pop up or when I get a call from someone, it's always whatever I can do, it's a yes immediately.
Which is actually how you came on this podcast.
Yes.
So I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Real quick, we're going to tell the people a little bit about the mentoring organization that Mr. Dean has. This is the Man Up Club, okay? And if you do not know already, the Man Up Club is dedicated to the success of the lives of young Black men all across the nation. But specifically in Minneapolis, we do have our own clubhouse in downtown. We specialize in life skills, social skills, academic discipline, and civic responsibility. Our goals of the Man Up Club is to get these young men to graduate from high school. Once they graduate high school, we push them towards college or a trade, and then we also do our best work to keep them out of the prison pipeline altogether. Okay. So, enough about what we do. Let's highlight what you do.
Come on.
So, what kind of community engagements are you involved in? What are you passionate about?
Absolutely. So this is a great segue. When we talk about the Man Up Club, we also share in the same vision of the Man Up Club. And so over about 8 years ago, I founded and started a school called the Minnesota Preparatory Academy.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And I started primarily because I was dealing with young African-American males that were graduating from high school, and I look at their grades and they were not ready to go, or they were not college ready. Some of them were athletes. Most of them were athletes. They played the game of basketball or football, but could not go to college on a full scholarship because their grades was not acceptable at that particular educational institution. I said, how in the world did our school district let and drop the ball on our young Black males? Disappointing. So now they had to go into the workforce with no skills. Nothing was offered to them. I mean, they had a couple different institutions that they could participate in, but they wanted to continue education, playing the game that they love. They should be able to do that. So I just took the initiative and started a school and said we will not fail our young African-American males anymore. And since that evolution or that that opportunity came up for these young people, we have had the opportunity to send over 150 African American young males to school on a full scholarship. So that has been our blessing. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
So that has been a blessed opportunity, and we're still doing it. And so our school has expanded down to Tennessee. We got schools all over Tennessee, Phoenix, and here in Minnesota.
Dope.
And so our kids now are coming from all over the country. We have kids from South Sudan. We have kids from the United Kingdom. We have kids from the Czech Republic. You name Uganda just showed up the other day. So,
Wow.
so from North Minneapolis to New York to some schools some kids that are, we have kids from all over. And so it gives them the opportunity to learn. And we do more than just the education piece to get them to college, but trades. Right now we have an IT program. They're making their own 3D library to remake the Rondo 94 experience before 94 was driven through the Rondo neighborhood. They're going to recreate that through some Quest glasses. So they're writing the code in the 3D virtual library for that. So there's some dope stuff going on in the school. And these are all African American young male. We got a couple people that are from the Czech Republic that don't look like you and me, but they're not from America. So
Right.
but other than that, it's our young males getting the opportunity to play the game that they love, but learning some soft skills, some social skills, some different skills that will carry them after the game of basketball is over. They have something they can lean back on.
That's what's up. Those type of things are not highlighted in the news, so that's why
Right.
we want to give you the platform to be able to
Appreciate it.
to say that. You're in a position where you have already literally established a school,
Yes.
right? Let's talk about your upbringing a little bit.
Come on.
What was your childhood like?
Wow. That's a great question. And I don't mind. I'm very transparent about who I am and what I've been through. I'll go back as far as I can remember, but in a brief time. And I always tell this story because I think it's the hook that helps me get young people to understand that I've been your age, but you haven't been mine, that type of thing. But I'm not judgmental.
Mhm.
And the reason why I'm not judgmental is because of my upbringing. And so I was a military kid. My dad got out of the military dishonorable discharge because he was involved with some drugs. And this is during the time where a lot of our young African-American males coming home from Vietnam War, or the Army wasn't just a good place for them at the time. Got involved, and he ended up going to jail when I was 4 years old to one of the most notorious prisons in America called Sing Sing Prison in New York. Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, murder, burglary. He had a rap sheet. And so he ended up getting caught up in jail, and that was my last conversation that I had with him at 4 years old. Take care of your mama.
Wow.
And so we were in Denver, Colorado. He got kicked out of a state. They told him to never come back to Colorado again. And they sent him directly from Colorado to New York Sing Sing Prison. Never heard from him again to this day.
What?
So yes, it was crazy. So I ended up helping raising with my mother, helping raising my younger brother and younger sister. Ended up coming to got involved in some stuff in Denver, Colorado, in some gangs at 13 years old. And the
Wow.
officer showed up at my mom's doorstep and said, if you don't get your sons, when I was 16, I think 16 or 17, if you don't get your sons up out of here, they'll be dead by the end of summer.
What?
Because of what they heard in the streets, because of the stuff that we were involved with.
Wow.
And so that was crazy. So as the streets was raising me. I had some mentors that I thought was raising me the way that they were raising me. It started off with, hey, here's a bike, go take this down the street. It was a backpack, and here's $100. And so what I was doing, I was moving some stuff that I didn't know I was moving, and that's how I got involved.
Wow.
Didn't know they got a bike and $100. Who wouldn't want that at 14 coming from poverty? I didn't know we were poor, right? And that was what we were dealing with. Moved to St. Paul. No, I'm sorry, moved to Minneapolis. And when I moved to Minneapolis, 16, 17 years old, I didn't know what gangs were. It's different from where we're in Denver. Denver was like the little Compton. And St. Paul and Minneapolis was a little bit different from how I was raised. So I got involved quickly coming up here. And then my mother moved me to, she didn't want to move us to the hood, to the projects. So she moved us to North Minneapolis, right across the street from the projects. I look out my window and I can still see the projects.
Okay.
So I was like, Mom, we still in the projects. I know the hood when I see the hood. And so I grew up that way, got involved with some stuff. And then my mother said, this is a bad neighborhood. We moved to St. Paul, and I created crime rate in St. Paul in my neighborhood. And it was until
Wow.
it was until came across, and I'm gonna give a shout out to the Battle family, Dr. Walter Battle and Pastor Joseph Webb, and a couple of these Battle men took me in the church scene. It turned my life around, and when my life was turned around, crime rate went down in my neighborhood. The news showed up at my doorstep, interviewed me and my brother. I mean, it was like that. Like literally,
So
yes,
you was causing that much hell.
yes,
What?
yeah.
When you kind of stopped what you was doing, the news came to interview you about it in
Couldn't
your
believe it.
neighborhood?
Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. Crime rate went down. We were some tyrants in the school. I got my brother got kicked out of 2 school
Dang.
districts, Minneapolis school districts and St. Paul school districts, within 48 hours of each other.
Wow.
So it was kind of crazy. We're just fatherless generation. This is why I appreciate the Man Up Club. Again, want to give a shout out to them. What y'all doing is amazing. But that's how someone took some time out with me and the mentor, and then taught me some things, and there's a different way of life. And, it was some stuff that was going on that kind of changed my life. And Dr. Battle and Pastor Joseph Webb, they really took me in and taught me how to be a man and raised me up. And literally, when the news came to our house, they were like, hey, we want to hear about this because you all were something else. And what changed your life? And so I think it was Channel 9 News came out. There was a Dimension special. It was actually a special. Hopefully we can go pull the archives. It was back in like 95, 96. And that's what happened. And the rest is kind of like some history. And so I just wanted to give back. I always say I want to give back what was given to me. So Pastor Webb and Dr. Battle, really gave to me and poured into me, and I'm pouring back what they gave me.
And you are pouring.
Yeah.
You are really pouring.
Trying.
I mean, starting a whole school, that's huge.
Yeah, kind of crazy. It was something else. So, as we do that, we moved into this opportunity to pour back into these young men, and hopefully they'll do the same thing. I tell them, if you make it to the NBA or getting paid, whatever, you don't owe me nothing. You owe it to the generation coming behind you.
That's amazing. Well, this is the Man Up Club Presents podcast. We're going to get more info. God, that was a crazy story, y'all. We're going to get more info from Mr. Donnell Bratton. We're back on the Man Up Club Presents podcast, and we're here with Mr. Donnell Bratton. Y'all, he done said a mouthful about everything that he's done in the past, and he didn't even say the details of it. So we're going to just get to know him a little bit more. Because, yes, he started a school here in the Twin Cities, Minnesota. Yes, he is a pastor, right? But a lot of the times we hear about these people doing great things and they're trying to push everybody. They AKA the old heads, okay? We know them as the old heads, like, he's just, Unc just talking. But no, like, he literally was about that life. And he knows what's up. So we gonna unveil.
Let's do it.
These experiences that he's had. So, you talk about, you was notoriously known for just causing hell.
Come on.
In your city and everything. So it's like, you were raised by a single mother, right?
Shout out to Mom.
Yes. So she was a positive influence in your life because, I know that because you said that she was the one who was making the efforts to move you out of this place because she's like, no, this is too bad of a neighborhood. Like she was thinking like, I need to move my sons here. She was trying her best to take you guys out of these environments that were causing hell for you guys. So the thing is, you have this person in your life who is influencing you in a positive way. But like, what was your mindset back then?
So that's interesting you say that. So I'm going to put an asterisk by my mother. I still, my mom is like, everything I know about life I got from her. But there was some dark periods where we went into survivor mode. So my mother, even though she never gave up on us, she just put us in a position that sometimes was compromising to, that was dangerous. So I'm going to get into some deep stuff.
Get into it.
So my mother was in survival mode because she just couldn't take care of us like she used to or like she wants to. And so my mother was, before we moved to Denver, this is kind of how we all got caught up in the game. My mother was a neighborhood bootlegger and a dope dealer.
What is a neighborhood bootlegger?
I'm finna break it down.
I know the dope dealer, but like, what's that?
So basically, liquor stores close at a certain time, and you can't get liquor after like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Probably 9 o'clock. Well, she was the after hour spot where you can still come get the liquor.
Okay.
So when we was growing up, how our house was the house. So we didn't have any furniture. She had a bar in the middle of in the living room. I
What?
was the runner for at 13, 14 years old. So when someone would show up at the house, go get the Crown Royal or go get this out the refrigerator, go get this out the refrigerator, go get this out the refrigerator. So I was the runner to go bring the liquor to
Oh my.
the people. So I was the waiter in the middle of
What?
the living room
At 13?
at 13, 14. That was just straight up wrong, right? So
Right.
so we're out here, but we were in survival mode. We didn't
Mm.
even know. So people were coming in. I mean, it was to the point where officers, and this is how we got caught up in, my mother was doing what she was doing, the survival. She would get caught up. And so back then, marijuana was a big thing. So my mother used to move a lot of marijuana inside of her home. So they would bust,
Mm.
the police would come and they were on her side. They would bust the neighborhood. Yeah, I remember this as clear as day. They
The
would,
Popo was on her side?
Popo was on her side because they would come and get drinks with her after their shift.
What?
So what they would do,
Like,
when they confiscate some of the weed from the neighborhood dope dealer in that way, they would bring the weed that they busted the person with to the house so she can have weed to serve to her patrons.
wow.
So we would see all this when I was younger. My brother would go light cigarettes on the stove for some of the people that was in the. I would be going to go grab go get a Budweiser out the refrigerator, go get this, and I would open it up, give it to him, stuff like that. So we would see all that, and I'm seeing this hustle like, yo, my mom making money. So we was doing what we was
Right.
doing, and there was some people in there that I was like tripping. I seen fights. I didn't
Mm.
seen people it was crazy. I mean, seen people get dragged out the house because they was playing a spades game that went wrong.
It's
Dominoes.
always spades.
Yep, he smacked the table a little too hard. He was talking to his girl, got beat up, and we had to drag the dude out in the middle and leave him in the yard until he woke up the next morning. It was crazy. So that was crazy. So that's what I was seeing. But then there was outside influence. So now you got the crack epidemics. It's the 90s.
Okay.
So I was, if you go look at the 90s, this is when fathers were being taken out the home. And my father was one of the ones that was experienced the heroin and the crack epidemics, that mass incarceration of our black men, our black fathers. So now crack game is in here. So you're serving crack. I'm seeing it happen. It's no longer cocaine. Crack is cheap, cheaper than cocaine. Is infecting and impacting all of these neighborhoods of color. So this is what I'm seeing. I'm selling dope, 15, 16 years old. So while mom is doing the bootlegging and we're in Minnesota, she's in the front, she getting her life together, but in the back door, I'm serving right out the back door.
Dang.
Mama didn't know. So mama in church now. So I'm still, hey, mom, you the hustle, the game, you taught. So this is what we doing. So I'm serving dope out the back. My brother gang banging. I'm doing what I'm doing. And my mother says, hey, we can't keep doing this. You need to change your life. So if you big and bad and get away with me, but you ain't bad enough to get away with God. That scared me so bad. I was like, well, who was this God you talking about? King Kong ain't got, I'm like that.
King Kong ain't got nothing.
So I'm tripping. Like, mom, who you think you are? Like, you know what I mean?
Wow.
So and that's kind of how it was evolving. So, and I mean, I had my first car when I was 16, no license. Brought my mother a car at 17 with no license. So we had 2 cars. I'm doing my thing. So, you know what I mean? But I'm under the radar because I'm not out there like, I'm fighting and doing all that other stuff. I'm just trying to make some money.
Okay.
My brother was the fighter, he was the but if I had to fight, I would fight. But I remember a school, shout out to Washburn. I graduated from Washburn High School,
Okay.
but went to Washburn, and I had a good friend, shout out to her. Her name is Sophia Ann Lewis. I'll never forget it, and this is kind of where it started changing. She was over in North Minneapolis on Glendale, sitting in the car waiting for a cab, and 2 people rolled up on the side of her and shot her and her boyfriend. And that was the first time at 17 years old that I experienced a young person dying that I knew at the hand of gun violence.
Oh.
First funeral I went to, I can remember to the clear as day. She's laying in the casket, got an all-guest outfit on with a bandana on her head because the bullet holes that they had to cover, you can see the bullet holes through her hands because it was sawed-off shotguns. Messed me up. First funeral my mother took me to, and then that's when my life started slowly already changing when she mentioned God, because it was like, they already told you was going to be dead by the end of the summer. You're here in Minnesota, you still clowning. You just saw your friend get shot. It was just tripping me out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So life was getting real.
It was
for
getting
you.
real. It was
Okay.
it was getting real. And then me and my brother got into it because and can I say what gang I was in?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was involved with the Crips. So I was a Crip.
Okay.
And then my brother ended up becoming what we call ops in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So how's your brother in the same household, a blood, and I'm a Crip? So there's not a lot of Crips and Bloods in Minnesota, but there was a lot in Denver. But I was still representing Crip. As you know, I'm still wearing blue. That's something psychological I got to get out of. I kind of go against, I don't know, I don't like red, but that was just something, that's some childhood trauma.
Right.
But my brother was a blood. So me and him got in a fight. He threw a knife at me, stick me, it was all kind of just crazy. Me and my own brother. That was crazy. So we did that. And then a couple of days ago, we had my grandma living in the house with us, the house next door to us. They were shooting up the house there. We all in the bathroom on the floor. I mean, it was just some crazy stuff. Like BMF.
What haven't you been through?
Well, a couple things. I mean, it was just some stuff. I mean, fights with my sister. My sister stabbed me. My brother had my brother, we used to make money this way. My brother used to have a pit bull farm, and the pit bull farm that he had in our house, he had a couple pit bulls. His pit bull was the one that would break up fights. So they would have the pit bull go through. So if he sees a white sheet, he goes in and try to breaks up the pit bulls. Mm-hmm. Me and my brother didn't get along. So one day I was coming home, came to the house. You know how you make the bed up, and I'm pulling the sheet up. His pit bull come running up the steps, jumped on me, tried to get it to my neck, got a hold to my chest, ripped my whole chest open.
The dog?
Yeah, ripped my whole chest open. So I had him in the headlock. My brother kind of had some sympathy toward me, which, we good now, but he had to break the back legs of the dog. I know it's probably too much to get him off of me. And so in the middle of wintertime, back then the day, we were in St. Paul. It was called Ramsey Hospital. It's Regions now. I had no shirt on, 15 below zero, being rushed to the hospital with my chest wide open. They thought I was shot because that's how big. Am I getting too explicit? Are we good?
No, we good.
Okay.
No, this is real life.
Yeah, so
this is real life.
Yeah, no, real talk. And this is what happened. This is my life-changing story.
Right.
So this is
the truth.
Yeah, so this is why my mother was saying, hey, you just already heard that you was going to die. This is going to happen. This is all happening all at one time. This is the year of my conversion.
Wow.
Chest is wide open at Regions Hospital. They couldn't give me stitches. They had to staple my chest back together.
Oh my gosh.
So, and it's crazy. Crazy. So I'm, still talking about Crip, all this other stuff. And I got the staple is so crazy that I have a big C on my chest from the staple. That's how they stapled it back together.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I'm branded for life anyway. But anyway, that's just a side joke. But then that's the stuff that changed my life. I mean, because I seen death. I mean, going to the club and hearing people shooting, and I can hear the bullets go across my head, just in just weird places. And I can say God spared my life. And so I can tell anybody, I was at death's door, on many occasions. And I took the final opportunity. I think that was the opportunity when my chest was wide open, stapled it back together. And then my mother said that to me. It was one of those nights where she says, I want you to come to church with me. I said, Mom, I'm good. I already had something set up. I had somebody come to the door. She says, all right, you bad enough to get away with me, but you ain't bad enough to get away with God. That scared me so bad. I canceled everything, and I ended up going to church with her. And after that, I was just impacted by a lot of the young men that I seen there, and that was Pastor Webb and different things. There was a message of hope. He had a message of talking about how he used to sell drugs, do drugs, and how God changed him. And I just never seen a black man that looked well, looked decent, drive nice cars, but just was doing it off the impact of what God did for him. And he poured into me, saw me. My brother ended up coming. And me and him both, this is all in a matter of a couple days, and we ended up changing our life in this 1 week. And when I tell you our life changed, some people that were after him, I remember we coming home from church in that same week. Now we changed our life. People that were after him came to the house to jump on him. I mean, it was like 15 people. It was a local game. I think they were called Hilltop Hustlers or something like that, because he wasn't messing with them anymore. And he turned around with bold conviction and said something to them, and they all scattered.
What?
And I just thought, man, there has to be a higher power to give you that boldness, because we was ready to fight after we got through. Our lives has changed because we were about to get jumped. Him, me, and my sister.
Right, because you in the gang. Right.
Yeah, because, those gang situations, once you in, the only way out is in a box or in jail. Changed for us. And so that changed. They never messed with us. And I can quote a scripture on the air, right?
Go ahead.
So one of the things that we say, if a man's ways please the Lord, he'll even make your enemies at peace with you. And so when we were turning our lives, our enemies became peace with us. And so the things that we were going through, and the things that we had debts that we had to pay, issues that we had to deal with, they were no longer there because of our ways changing. And so when the news showed up, that's when, because people were hearing what was going on. And so the influence of Pastor Webb and the church Free at Last, shout out to Free at Last, those are the people
Hold
that
on,
kind of
we
help
gonna
us.
have to back up.
Yes. Yes.
We gonna have to back up.
Yes, and let's back up.
I'm sorry, but all this stuff done happened, and then you say you went to church.
Yep.
Your brother,
Yep.
who was a blood, went to church,
Mm.
and then everything just spiritually changed. Hold
Yep.
on a second.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second, y'all, because we're gonna in this next segment, we're going to dive deep on what was it about the word of God that you were hearing
Yes.
that allowed you to let go of this life, this crazy lifestyle. This is the Man Up Club. This is the Man Up Club Presents podcast, and we will be right back. We are back on the Man Up Club Presents podcast on Holy Culture Radio, Channel 140, and we are just blown away by Mr. Bratton. Okay, y'all done heard what this man said. I had to ask him, like, is this real? He's like, oh yeah, I got the C on my chest to prove it, and my sister really did stab me, and yeah, just because it's not your life, like it's the life of a person next to you, like. So what's crazy is the transformation for me, because you're living this life of habits, right? We all know how crazy habits are ingrained into us, right? And you were living this lifestyle, like for real, boys in the hood, for many years, and it was the normal for you, and it was ingrained in you, and that's how you were raised. And a lot of people, they think to themselves like, well, once a young man is this age, or really any person, once you're like this age, or you're a teenager, it's in you, and it's like, no, there's still room for change, because God can do anything. So let's go back to when you were in that church service and you heard the word. Reflect back on that moment, like. What was going on spiritually with you? Like, did you break down and cry? Like, what happened in your mental and spiritual space that just made you do this 180?
Well,
and your brother too.
Yeah. So this is no lie. I can go back. It was in February. February of 1994, 5, something like that. But I remember being in February, which is crazy. It was around Valentine's Day. And I think I was on one in Valentine's. So my brother was already going to church because my mom asked him. And I wasn't going. And so when I got there, my brother was literally at the front of the church, hands lifted, crying.
Oh.
And I'm like,
wow,
this thug? So,
right.
Because he was already, he was I'll put it this way. He was like you mentioned Boys in the Hood in that era of the 90s movies. I love that. But he was like the Debo. He was like the one that put your stuff up when he shows up.
Right.
Or you just didn't call him. If he was called to a fight, he's clearing it out. He was the one that was just, you didn't want to get in a fight with. Either if he lost a fight, he's coming back with guns blazing. That's just him. And just bad attitude, short temper, didn't care, just lifeless, in existence with no purpose.
Wow.
I always say that. So when I seen him, but then you felt the power of God in the room, but it wasn't just him. It was other people that had different vices, some people I knew in the hood that was in there. And it was just one of those powerful spiritual encounters that it was undeniable. Like, if I didn't know that God wasn't, if I felt like God wasn't real at that moment, it just changed my mind about who God is by just experiencing the presence of God and the atmosphere that was in that room. So I seen men that were crying and I didn't understand why they were crying. I seen people that were worshiping God and I'm like, okay, what is this? But then you can feel it. And I'm like, yo, my brother.
Right.
is
and
up
you
here.
know your brother.
Yeah. And so I'm there, I'm touched, but I'm more emotional about what's happening to him. So our relationship was kind of healed because of what I saw. And so the next night, I came back because my mom, hey, come back again. They're having another night. It was a revival. I come back again, but I noticed when my brother came home, his whole life was different. Like, he cleaned up the whole house. He was doing this. I mean, his whole behavior, his nature changed. He put a suit on. And I'm like, man, what happened to the khakis and the Cortez and the flannel, right? So he got a suit on. He's dressing up. He's doing all this kind of stuff. So his whole behavior and nature has changed.
His vibe.
Right,
aura.
right. Yeah, so all of that, I mean, his presence, he was nice. It was just like, who is this dude? So that was the drawing piece. Then my sister wanted to come to church. And so we were all at church. I'm at church, and then you know that song, if anybody knows, in the old African-American church, it says, I went to a meeting one night, and my soul wasn't right, and something got a hold of me. Well, yeah, that was me. So I went to the meeting, and something got a hold to me. I started crying, fell out the power of God, and I'm telling you, it was life-changing then. And so it was an experience, and it was an encounter with God, and I knew God was real. And so when that happened, my life changed. And that's what the rest is history. And then I can go deeper into it, and I think I just had the spiritual walk with Pastor Webb, teaching me how to tie a tie. Just that father figure piece. I think if I didn't have that, if I had the spiritual encounter and didn't have a father figure, I think I would have been back out in the street.
Really?
Yes. I think that's important.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a big statement you
It is.
said.
It is.
That's a real big statement. So you were telling me that if you would have just had the spiritual experience, which I've also had an experience with God like that, and I've had a couple of those, and it's very reaffirming of God's existence. But you're saying if you didn't have that father figure to guide you and lead you, you'd probably end up back in the street life?
Absolutely.
Wow,
Yeah,
that just highlights the importance of having that strong male black figure.
Absolutely. That is the piece. Because I always reference him, because here's the piece. I think for me, as you can tell from my story, you didn't hear me say anything about a male being there to mentor me through my challenging times.
Right, no.
It was when I got into church. But when I heard his testimony of him being strung out on drugs and being a young man dealing with drugs and pimping women and doing all this other stuff. I mean, he had almost the same similar situation. He had a father and mother in the home, but he was just strung out and stuff. And remind you, he's the same age as my biological father. So there was a void there. Him hearing his testimony, I'm like, oh, he get it. You know what I've been through. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, that's what's up. But then, he's having also a spiritual encounter like I am, but you're telling me this is my testimony, and if God can do it for me, he can do it for you. I was 17 and 18 when I made that transition. I'm 17, 18 sitting in his church, and he's telling me about his transition, him being a 40-something-year-old man. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what's up. But then afterwards, when he saw that, he was drawn to me. I was drawn to him, and I would be at his house. I mean, washing his cars, doing all kind of stuff, being with him. And he will always tell me, hey, don't do that. I mean, he was hard on me. And so, but he knew what I needed. And so me being in that position with him, it kept me from being called back out to the streets, because I'm delivered, but my money's funny now. So now I got to go work.
Okay, right.
And go to school.
Because listen,
Come on.
Just because you have this spiritual relationship, that don't mean it's going to fix your finances. Now, it should, but here's the thing about it, is faith without works is dead.
Come on, sis.
Faith without works is dead. So you could be praying, oh, God, I pray that, my financial situation would be at a point where I'm not stressing about finances anymore and I'm operating in abundance. But if you ain't save your money to
Come on.
go into a high yield savings account, or you haven't educated yourself about what that is, or you don't have an emergency fund, then God gave us hands for a reason.
Yes.
God gave us a mind for a reason, to utilize what we have, to be able to work for ourselves and see the fruits of our labor.
Yes.
So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And then that was the piece. I mean, he introduced me to Dr. Walter Battle, which is his uncle. He took me under his wing, taught me about finances, literacy, and he had his own businesses. He had a whole lot of stuff going on, and I'm like, man, this is powerful. You know, I ain't got to worry about looking over my shoulder, you know. And so
Mm.
I didn't like I had to go get a job, but they encouraged me, hang on in there. It's going to be all right. So I can remember this is going to trip a lot of people out. I remember my first job really working at Wendy's. When they told me how much I was making an hour, y'all going to probably look at me crazy. $2.95 an hour.
Oh.
They tripping here in this studio, but that was my
$2.
$2.95. And what?
So taxes like come out of that.
Yes, I was tripping. So in the summertime, I would work at Wendy's.
It was different.
It was different. So can you imagine? I'm pulling in. I'm going from having thousands in my pocket.
Oh, right, because of the drug money, because of the money that comes from the lifestyle.
Come on, I had two cars.
That's crazy. You said you had two cars,
Two cars. I had a Delta 88,
wow.
And I had my mother. I brought my mother a car, so we had cars. So I'm struggling. $2.95 an hour at Wendy's in the summertime, and then I would get off my shift and go work. It's Monday through Friday. Go to McDonald's, and they gave me a raise for $3.05 an hour.
Huh.
And then on the weekends, I would work at Ponderosa, bussing dishes for $3.35 an hour, just to kind of just make it work, right? So now I'm going through this transformation mentally, but I had mentors to support me and say, "Hey, don't do it," because I had people show up and say, "Hey, man, here's a pack. Go ahead. This $1,500, or this, you know, here's an 8 ball. I mean, I'm talking drug term, but here's an 8 ball. You know, you can flip this and you could do this, and you back in the game." There was many opportunities to do it, but I didn't do it.
You didn't fold not one time?
No, I couldn't. I couldn't do it.
How though? Like, Cause me and my cousin had this conversation about how easy it is for young black men.
It was the men. The men were there.
It was the men that was there that was telling you don't do that.
Don't, because I was transparent. They let me be judgmental. Now, did I make mistakes? Oh, I made a whole lot of mistakes. Oh, I made some mistakes. But getting back into the drug game, it was hard.
Cause money talks.
It does.
Money talks real loud.
It does. It does. I mean, and I think right when I was at my breaking point where I could have done it, I think it was just me seeing someone would show up at the right time. It was a divine moment. Like I would get a call and say, "Hey, I got this," and they were giving me they were gonna give me the dope. I didn't have to put no money up or nothing. Here you go. We'll give you, and it was like divine moments. I had a friend that I used to run with, and we were supposed to go pick something up, and what ended up happening, he got caught up and pulled over by the police, ended up going to jail, and I was supposed to be with him that night. Same thing with my brother.
Oh.
They were supposed to go rob a funeral home. It was something crazy.
What?
Something stupid.
What?
Something dumb. Embalming fluid. Something dumb. They ended up he didn't go that night, they ended up going to jail. So those are divine moments that showed up in my life that didn't allow me to, oh, no, don't do it.
Wow. This is the Man Up Club podcast presents, and we will be right back. We're back on the Man Up Club presents podcast, and we're talking to Mr. Donnell, okay? Mr. Donnell.
Yes.
We've been so into your story that we almost missed the Man Up Minute.
Oh, wow.
He's like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, the Man Up Minute, it's where we highlight an aspect of the Man Up Club pledge.
Okay.
There's certain values that we hold our young men to and certain statements that we hold them accountable to. So for today's Man Up Minute, it is, I will not embarrass myself, my family, or my community.
Mm-hmm.
I chose this one because it's so relatable to your story. Because you went from embarrassing yourself, embarrassing your community, embarrassing your family and what you were doing and what you were representing, to now honoring your name, honoring your family, honoring your community. That is a beautiful thing. When you hear, I will not embarrass myself, my family, or community, what comes to mind?
I think for me, I'm a fan of the underdog, the story of the unsung hero, the person that took the failure or had went into failure and triumphed in their failures and became victorious. So when I think about embarrassment, sometimes people can't come back from embarrassment because of the state of fear.
Mm.
And I think everything that has a fruit has a root. And the root of some of the embarrassment of not coming out of the embarrassment is because of the fear. And if I was to encourage any young man or anyone, it's by a motivational quote that has got me through my fear. And it is this: I'd rather be motivated by the possibility of success instead of the fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things that we struggle with is the fear to fail. And failure is not embarrassment. Failure is just an opportunity for you to get back up again and look back and say, that was a situation that I was in for someone else not to experience what I went through. And so if you're going to fall, I say don't fall backwards, fall forward. And if you fall forward, it's easy to get up on your feet because the quickest way to your feet is on your knees. It's hard to get up on your back. But if you fall forward, you can get up quicker. And I think that's the piece. We're going to fail. And you shouldn't be afraid to fall. There's a scripture in the Bible says all have sinned and came short. We all going to come up short. And if that is the scripture, and it is inevitable. We're going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
So just come to terms with it now.
Come to terms with it now, and just know that if you have, as me, after what have I experienced and the things that I've experienced, close to death's door, should be in jail, all of those testimonies that you hear people say, real life for me is that he's given me another chance. And as long as I got breath in my body, if I can make it like it was told to me, to all the YNs out there, you can come out of that. There's a place for you that I believe that if you make up your mind and if your heart really wants to be out the game, God will make an opportunity for you to escape. I just believe that. The opportunity presents itself to me, and I took advantage of it. But if you have a mind that says, I really don't want to do this anymore, I believe God will show up and he will give you the opportunity to get out of it, period. But what happens with us in the church, and I don't want to cancel everything I said, in the body of Christ or in communities of color, I'm going to pray, and I've been praying for our young men to have the same support, that after you make that transition and that way out, that there is a way in to keep you in, such as the Man Up Club. So don't be embarrassed. There's no judgment. When God presents that opportunity, there's no judgment in God, and God will make sure that you have the support system that you need to make sure that you can continue on this pathway and journey with a relationship with him. And then I'll say this: our relationships with a higher power or God, or I say it's important. I have twins. I have a boy and a girl twin.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, they're
Congratulations.
beautiful. But my son and daughter, they love me different from each other. My son is touchy-feely. He hugs me. He does all this different. Hey, daddy's all on top of me. Always give me a hug. My daughter, oh, don't touch me. She doesn't say the word I love you. She only says it twice.
Really?
Yeah. On Father's Day and on my birthday, but she has to read a statement with tears rolling down her face, and it's meaningful when she says it.
Oh.
Dad, I love you. Because it means something to her. Both of them came out almost at the same few minutes from each other at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They're both of my children.
Right.
But they have a relationship with me that looks different from one another.
Mm.
So let that sink in. So I always encourage people, have a relationship. Your relationship may look different from mine, but the key word, we have a relationship with him. And so what happens in the body of Christ, we tend to make my relationship should be the same as everybody else's.
That's the truth.
And
that's what's wrong with us, y'all. Go ahead.
Yep.
And
it makes it have nothing wrong with religion.
Right.
But religion has sometimes canceled the relationship with God. And,
that's true.
And I preach and teach relationship because your journey may be different. My journey is definitely different from somebody else's. So what I need from Pastor Webb, you may not need from Pastor Webb, right? Mm-hmm. But we want to create opportunities for people to work out a relationship with their God. And so like my daughter, I'm only going to tell you love you twice, Dad. My son, I'm going to tell you love you every time I talk to you.
That's me too.
But they're both my children, and I am their father.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. You are really God's mouthpiece.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank
you are, because you're welcome, because there's so much healing. And it is backed by your story.
Wow.
And your story is real.
Wow.
Very real. It's similar to Job.
Wow.
I'm so serious, because
Wow.
like you can just see God all over it, and like you don't live, you've never lived this cookie cutter lifestyle, and just the odds of you making it out, having your chest split open, and you haven't even told me everything. Like there's, this podcast is only in the segments that we only have 13 minutes, and like in that time, it's just like, wow, like your life is so different from mine. You've experienced so much, but it's like, I know for a fact that your story and what you've been through resonates deep with a lot of people out here. And you're really a walking testimony. I mean, to go from that to what you're doing now.
Yes.
I keep on bringing up the fact that you started this school, and that's just one of the things, but that's just so amazing. Like, a school? Come on now. Like that's a whole bunch of people that he's affecting.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh, it's just like, wow, I feel like I can do anything.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
It's just like, just looking at your story, it's like, okay, you came from that and like you're doing all this. It's like there's no reason that I should not be successful and reach the highest of heights.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, God really can do anything.
Mm-hmm. And you can do all things with him.
Yeah.
God does things, and I say this statement is another. I use a lot of statements, but what God did for me doesn't make sense to smart people. So I look at all of our testimonies, what education can get you through some doors, but God can get you through all doors.
That's a fact.
Yeah. So some people say, well, one day you're going to be a millionaire. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but I'd rather be a favournaire. Have God's favor. So instead of spending $1 million on a Lear jet, how about I find favor with the person that created the Lear jet and says, I want to give it to you. Give the $1 million to impact the youth.
Wow.
That's favor, right?
Right.
So that's what I'm looking for, is the favor of God more than anything. So at the end of the day, you can do anything, but most of all, as I say to young men, stay in the fog, the favor of God. If you can stay in the favor of God, man, God can. I've been in places, maybe we'll come back on another segment where, Kanye, this talking about, yay, I've been to his, when we started the school, I helped started his school.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, man. I've been
we're going to have to bring you back.
Came to California, been to his church services, all that kind of stuff. Called me on the phone while he was sitting on the toilet singing to me. I mean, it was all kind. I got pictures. I got pictures, all that kind of stuff. Had an opportunity to minister to him, all that stuff.
Wow.
So for our young men, and so Rob Dillingham, shout out to him, that plays for the Timberwolves. I mean, he played his first time at the Target Center because of what we did with the schools.
Wow.
So, yep. So all kind of stuff. Yeah, I got some testimonies behind that.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we're gonna have to bring you back for sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah. This. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Oh.
I want to say thank you. Man up, y'all. You did a wonderful job interviewing me. You asked some tough questions. That's great. Thank you.
That's a good thing. I be doing my thing. I try now.
You did it.
No, but I thank you for just having the vulnerability to come on here and just share so much.
Yes.
And I just want to say, like, the visual that I'm getting from having you as a guest is like, we have just watched this rose that kind of has, died and lost its color. And as he's continued to speak on his story, you just see how this dead flower just comes to life and is just blooming so brightly. Like, that's how I see it. So just continue to prosper.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Donnell. Okay. This has been a wonderful episode of the Man Up Club podcast presents on Holy Culture Radio. Tune in with us next time. Oh yeah. And if you don't already know, the Man Up Club, if you would like to donate to the Man Up Club, you can go to www.themanupclub.org. We accept all donations. If you have a young man who would like to be in the program or you think would would benefit from being in the program, definitely reach out to us. We have our number on the website. Thank you so much for listening, and tune in with us next time.